Education estimates that Georgia will need 60% of its citizens to have some sort of higher education credential. And of those 60%, it's estimated that we need 65 to 70% of those to be in a technical field. Currently, we are unfortunately not on track to meet those goals. We have 42% of our Georgians with some sort of higher ed credential, and we know that enrollment at technical college is down and not up. We know that we have a skills gap. We have Georgians who are unemployed, and we have jobs that are left unfilled, and unfortunately the skills of those who are unemployed do not match the skills of the jobs that remain open, and a lot of those jobs require skills that you can gain at a technical college. We also know that the students at our technical college system institutions are the most price-sensitive students that we have in higher education, so that any change in their financial aid package and a couple of $100s even can be the difference between them being able to stay and having to leave. So combining all of those needs of Georgians and needs of the workforce and needs of students, House Bill 22 seeks to solve a real problem. The beauty of House Bill 22 is that, relatively speaking, the cost is low, especially when you consider the good that can come of it. The fiscal note, which I've shared with y'all, is $21 million. Not nothing, but like I said, a relatively small amount when we think about how well the lottery is doing in returning funds for educational purposes. We also know that we have a lot of growth in our reserve funds. We have $472 million that's sitting in a lockbox, for lack of a better term, that is required to be set aside. That's 50% of the prior year's payouts. I'm not proposing that we touch a cent of that money. There's also an excess reserve right now of $412 million, which we could spend if we wanted to. Again, I'm not proposing that we spend that money. What I'm asking to spend and how this bill could be paid for is in the growth in that excess reserve. That excess reserve has grown on average $63.6 million over the last 5 years. I'm asking for $21 million for House Bill 22 to help us plug our skills gap and help our workforce development needs. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have several questions, Representative Evans. Let's see. 23 is Chairman Nixon.
Thank you. Just a fiscal question, if you will. This will not just be for 1 year, but this will be ongoing.
Yes.
Okay. I remember the pain we went through a few years ago when we did not have the money. This fund that was about to run out, we were not able to meet the obligation. What do you foresee in the future if we do this a few years? Right now, we're awash in money, but the day will come when these reserves may have to be used to pay the very basics. How would you answer that question? How would you tell those people 6 or 8 or 10 years down the road that may not get anything or very little that, oh, we took some of that, we started using those reserves, 5 or 6 years ago?
Sure, and to be clear, I'm not asking to use any of the actual reserves, the 412 in extra reserves on top of the 472 million in lockbox reserves. Neither one of those would be touched. I'm simply talking about the growth in the reserve, which is 63.6 million of recurring money every year. So I'm calling it a reserve, but in reality it's really not. I would also say there's nothing about this bill that would get us into the predicament that we found ourselves in 2011 simply because of the steps that were taken in 2011. What we have, we don't have promises out there that we can't keep anymore because of the fact that we tied the Hope Grant Award for the Hope Scholarship to lottery revenue. So we're never guaranteeing a specific amount of money that has to be spent. It all is based on fluctuating lottery revenues. The only 2 promises that would be out there would be for the Zell Miller Scholars, which they get their money first and they get their full tuition paid. I'm simply asking that we also place a similar priority on our workforce development needs by also promising a certain amount of money to technical college students first, and the relative impact that it could even potentially have if we were to have to dip into any extra money would come on the Hope Grant Award amount, but it would be maybe somewhere around 2% difference in what would go to those students, simply putting a priority on our highest performing students, which are Zell Miller Scholars, and meeting our workforce development needs at technical college. We're simply just showing a priority of the needs of the state.
That's me for motion.
The only comment I would have is Are we pretty sure those reserves are going to continue to come in like that year after year after year that we would be dipping into? I believe you said, what did you say, Dana, 64?
63.6 million.
And you're asking for 21, so in 3 years you technically would use up that reserve.
No, I'm saying there's $63.6 million coming in every year. So next year,
That's a guarantee that we will have that much every year.
that's what we've seen for the last 5 years since we changed our reserve rules. Obviously, we don't know what the future holds, but I think that's a pretty good pattern since we changed the rules in 2011 on how we hold our reserves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Evans, along those lines, one of the things I want to check, we've had this conversation, with it's not the main lockbox, it is not the reserve.
Correct.
It is the increase in the reserve. There is no language in here that specifically ties it to that increase in the reserve.
That's correct.
Ties this 21. Perhaps we need to have a conversation during this process of how we tie it specifically to the concern of Representative Nix. If that reserve did not grow like it has for the last 5 years, then this would drop back to existing levels.
Mm-hmm. And I would bow to the will of the committee. I would urge, though, that we place a priority on our workforce development needs and the need to keep students and enrollment up at our technical college system, just as we've placed a priority on the Zell Miller Scholarship students.
Okay. I just don't see where it's tied to that, where it's coming out. It doesn't preclude coming out of the lockbox in here.
Well, everything is precluded from coming out of the lockbox. It's all subject to the appropriations that we make. And since there's always going to be it's always subject to appropriations. The only thing that is quote-unquote guaranteed, nothing is really guaranteed until it's appropriated, would be the cost for the Zell Miller Scholarship, and if House Bill 22 passes, then the cost for the Hope Grant. And then you've got wiggle room, I guess, on the amount that you can put on the Hope Scholarship award amount. That gets to fluctuate no matter what. And I don't think we get there because of the growth that we're seeing in the lottery and how well they're doing over there at returning money to the education fund. But if we did, that's where you could get the money, and it would be a relatively teeny tiny effect on the regular Hope Scholarship.
Okay, good. All right. Chairman Williams.
Motion at appropriate time.
Okay. Let me make sure there's no one else that. Is there anyone else on the committee that has any comments on that? Okay. President Chastain, did you need to speak on this, or you can? Unless you need me to. No. Okay. All right. At this time, I will accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, move to pass.
Second.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay. This will move it to the full committee, and we will wait for some clue from the governor's office, because the lottery is an administrative agency on that, as we've discussed. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Your bill is passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Evans. Thank you for your brevity.
Thank
you. Thank you, members of the committee. I think we'll continue to discuss this idea. I think we're all in agreement. It's an excellent concept, but I want to look at some of those mechanisms as we walk through the process. All right, next up, if you'll look at your agenda, is the University System of Georgia. Just a little logistics. As you know, we're going to meet today, and each of the agencies is going to give us their brief perspective on the 17 budget. And then next Tuesday is the day that we do every year, where there's 15-minute increments with respect to each of the subcommittees will vote out their portion of the budget. So any changes we propose to make, we'll make next Tuesday. Today's more of a listening. We can talk about some of the specifics. Chancellor Huckabee, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Glad to be here, ladies and gentlemen. I will help you on your goal for brevity. We have 3 points I really want to make this morning, and we'll, if any questions you have, we'd be delighted to address. We're very excited and pleased about the governor's recommendation for a 3% increase that would come to the university system. That amount for both A and B budget is almost $60 million. I think it's $59.8 million, and we would certainly encourage you to support that recommendation. That will help us tremendously begin to turn the tide on the relative standing of the university system with other states around us. The last 2 years, only 2 years after a stint of 5 with no increase, that we had a very modest appropriation for salary increases. So we're very excited about this, and we can put this to tremendous work in closing some inequitable situations, salary compression, and competition to recruit our best faculty away from our system. Secondly, the funding formula. The governor recommended the full amount that we've earned by a formula. As you know, the funding formula is based on enrollment. For the last 2 years, we've had slight enrollment increases. That amounts to just under $38 million. That's the good news. The bad news, though, is related to that a good number of our institutions are not growing, and so that puts a stress on us as to come up with an equitable allocation of these funds, but we relish having that challenge. We need the $38 million to support the increased enrollment in our institutions. The third area, of course, is always the capital budget. The governor has recommended his capital budget as it relates to major construction, equipment, that the items, I think there's 6 projects that are recommended for equipment. And of course, this is the last aspect of really a 3-year process. We've got the buildings under construction, scheduled to open, and now we need to purchase the equipment for that. He also recommended planning and design money for next year that would start the process for 3 major construction projects going forward. We also ask you to support the governor's revised recommendation on the major construction projects. Those are 2 very important projects at 2 schools that are growing very rapidly, and they're very important to the future of their efforts there. The one thing that I really would, as I've done for the last 5 years, urge you to support the $60 million recommendation that the governor has made for MRR. MRR is it's not the kind of thing you have ribbon cuttings on, but it's really down in the basic infrastructure, particularly maintaining the quality of the buildings that we have. That $60 million is a godsend to so many of our schools, and I would urge you to sustain and support the governor's $60 million MRR recommendation. Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chancellor. You were obviously trained in the House of Representatives. You did such a good job. And every other division of government in the state of Georgia in your long and illustrious career.
I've been there, yeah.
Members of the committee, any questions for the Chancellor? Okay. You've got your tracking sheets there, Chancellor. I'm particularly appreciative of your support of the governor's change in recommendation of that on the major capital projects. That, members of the committee, that was approximately $47 million. As you may or may not know, the governor recommended 2 different projects other than the one that was in there. He recommended North Georgia's project, and he recommended Georgia Highlands project. The one institution still hasn't seemed to get the message on due process. I suspect I'll bring another recommendation for another NIC there here in before the next meeting. That'll go specific to those individuals who are dealing with due process on a campus. So,
I think that with the governor's revised recommendation, it's put a permanent smile on Representative Battles' face. So, if we can keep him happy, we'll be happy.
Representative Battles is a personal project of mine.
And I appreciate our chairman.
We all do.
Thank you, Chancellor. All right, members of the committee, next up is President Tricia Chastain with Georgia Student Finance. President Chastain and team.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will try to follow the
the Chancellor's good example with his brevity here. We do have several recommendations, though, from the Governor for changes to the FY17 budget. So I'll just go through those changes. We'll just go through the tracking sheet, and then hopefully I'll have plenty of time if there are any questions. So we're section 44, and we'll start with line 44.1, which is the engineer scholarship. This is a service cancelable loan program, just as a reminder for students who are studying engineering at Mercer University. And the increase is $31,500. That is simply reflects a 3% increase in the number of students who are receiving this award. We're going from 294 students to 303 students. Next is line 44.4, which is Hope Admin, and this is a decrease of $120,000. This simply represents the Georgia Student Finance Authority is taking over the administrative costs of the REACH program, and that's what that change in that line represents. Next, line 44.6 is the HOPE grant. The Governor, as you've heard, is recommending adding industrial maintenance to the Strategic Industries Workforce Development Grant Program. This is additional funds that our HOPE grant and Zell Miller grant scholars can receive if they study in particular strategic industries that have been identified through the High Demand Career Initiative. We now have 12 with this addition, if you approve it, and over 140 programs across the technical college system that qualify for this program. So these students do receive full tuition covered, and just to follow up on what Representative Evans brought before you, about a third of our HOPE grant students, either by means of getting the Zell Miller grant or strategic industries, do have full tuition covered. And in this recommendation, there's no appropriation required. It will come out of the HOPE grant line at $751,000. Line 44.8 is HOPE Scholarship for public schools. The recommendation is a $59 million increase. This represents a 2% increase projected in the number of awards, and the factor rate will be 100%. As a reminder, what that means is that the award rate for FY17 will remain the same, the award amount for our HOPE scholars, as it was in FY16. And then this line also includes our Zell Miller scholars, and as I've mentioned to you before, we are seeing a 13% increase. This has been an increase that we've seen since the beginning of the program and the number of Zell Miller scholars coming into the program. We are seeing, in addition to more incoming freshmen coming in with the scholarship, they're also retaining it at a much higher rate. Our Zell Miller scholars need a 3.7 GPA and a 1200 on their SAT, and they're doing better when they get to college. They're maintaining the scholarship at about 81%, which is much higher than your HOPE scholars, so that's why we're seeing a significant increase in the number of Zell Miller scholars. Line 44.10 is Move On When Ready. Move On When Ready, of course, is the state's new dual enrollment program. You've heard about this as well. Two things that are impacting this program. It's a $29 million recommendation for an increase. One is just increased participation in the program. We are seeing a 37.5% increase if you compare fall of 2016 to fall of 2015 fiscal year. And then also, this program changed via SB 132. This used to be the Excel program. It's now Move On When Ready. It covers more. It covers fees. It covers books. We also offer many more courses under Move On When Ready now. So this is really just adjusting that budget to reflect the new Move On When Ready program. Line 44.11 is our University of North Georgia Military Scholarship. This is just, again, a service cancelable loan for our students at the University of North Georgia. They agree to serve 8 years in the National Guard in return for a full scholarship, and this just represents an increase in the number of cadets receiving the award from 158 to 183, and a 3% increase in the average cost of attendance for those cadets. And then finally is the REACH program on line 44.14. This will allow us to expand that program to 30 additional school districts. We are currently in 41 school districts. As a reminder, this is a need-based scholarship that begins in 8th grade and gives each of these students a mentor and an academic coach, and then a $10,000 scholarship upon graduation from high school. We hope to bring this program to 30 new school districts next year. And in addition, the governor has recommended, and we pilot the program with our foster youth. They have some of the worst educational outcomes in the state. So this will allow us, we're going to start small with about 30 foster youth in a couple of our existing REACH districts. And hopefully, if you approve, we'll be able to report back next year if this was a successful endeavor. That's all the changes. I do want to mention that NPEC is administratively attached, so Commissioner Robinson is here if you guys have any questions about any changes in their budget.
Okay, thank you, President Chastain. Any questions, members of the committee, on student finance or MPEC? As usual, very good job. Thank you. Next up is Commissioner Corbin, Technical College System of Georgia. I did not see. Oh, she was hiding behind the post over there. Good morning, Commissioner Corbin.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. It's great to be with you today.
At your convenience.
Thank you. On behalf of Governor Dill, the fiscal year 17 budget, we appreciate and support the opportunity to present to you today. We support this governor's recommended addition of $11,466,288 for a total budget this year of $351,400,729. In each of our programs, there are a few statewide changes, which include, of course, our 3% funding for merit pay adjustments in recruitment and retention. Thank you very much. An adjustment in merit system assessment and adjustment to agency premiums for DOAS administered self-insurance programs and adjusting of our teamwork billings. In addition to statewide changes, you will see in line 46.1 in adult education, where we have a transfer of $1.2 million from technical education to adult education to provide 20 additional full-time instructors in adult education. So altogether, with the statewide changes for adult education, these total $1,590,333 additional dollars for adult education. Lines 46.2 and 3, in regards to departmental administration and Quick Start, there are two change items in the governor's recommended to include the statewide recommendation, which include the statewide changes. These changes total $225,452 additional dollars in departmental administration and $234,177 in Quick Start and customized training. Line 46.4.1 through 4.4 is technical education, where our largest additions are statewide changes representing $8,545,566. In addition to statewide changes, there are increased funds for formula growth based on 1.7% in square footage for a total of $891,484. And a one-time funding of $1,187,896 for equipment at the Military Academic Training Center in Warner Robins that will be opening this summer. And again, the transfer of $1.2 million from technical education to adult education is noted here as well. So our agency grand total for the fiscal year 17 budget is $351,400,729. Mr. Chairman, in regards to capital projects, we are very appreciative of the budget that the governor has placed forth in his recommendation. It totals approximately $118 million, a $15 million recommendation for MR&R. As the Chancellor said, we very much appreciate and need. Followed by a $12 million recommendation for our world-class labs. And this is the second year of a 3-year phase, we hope, of world-class labs to outfit our training. This training this year will take place in healthcare, diesel equipment, and commercial truck driving industries. And then next is a recommendation of a $9,405,000 to replace obsolete equipment. And then we have capital outlay recommendations for our institutions that we are very excited about. Construction of the new Lanier Technical College Hall County campus at $270,000. Design and construction of the new education building at Georgia Northwestern Technical College Phase 2 building, $5 million. Design and construction of the Southern Crescent Technical College Industrial Training Building, $16,175,000. And construction of the Clarksville campus expansion at North Georgia Technical College, $12,545,000. And Mr. Chairman, this concludes my report, and I'm always open to any questions.
Okay, you've got a question. Representative Jones, is that your light or is that Chairman Rice? Okay, Chairman Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of things on the departmental administration budget of 46.2.1. It talks about merit pay adjustments to the tune of $219,000. How is that established? How does the $219,000 established? And where's the merit pay come in?
So these funds, of course, will be distributed to the colleges, and they will, the raises will be provided based on merit and retention.
Okay. From the standpoint of how you judge merit, is that up to the individual college? Is that over the, or does the department administer that?
All of the colleges provide plans to me and how they propose to provide those, and then I, of course, approve those.
And the basis for merit increases?
The basis of
example?
For obviously for incredible employees who have put in a lot of great work. We obviously look at evaluations throughout the year. We want to retain our best. We also want to be able to recruit the best. I will say that, for instance, the system, when we looked at our amount last year, what we did is we looked at individuals who were under a certain threshold who had not received raises in the past, and their performance stated that we thought that they should, and we provided bonuses or raises at that point.
And $219,000 would cover how many employees? Merit pay increase? It doesn't seem like a lot, is what I'm telling you.
Yes, sir.
How many employees are there in the technical college system that would qualify for this?
I'm going to defer to our CFO, Mr. Kincaid.
Each of the programs has an amount that's calculated at 3% of the state funds used for the employees. You're looking at admin. Admin has 70 employees, but the big money is in tech ed, which has 500 employees.
Yeah, it's the same issue on 46.4.1, I think, is right, the merit pay based adjustment. That's the $8 million adjustment. Same issue. Okay. I just wanted to know how that decision is made. Do the merit pay-based employees have the option for different merit pay increases, or how is that done? Because this is an issue not just here, but this is an issue throughout our educational systems.
We are an educational institution, but we're also an executive branch agency. We perform performance evaluations on all of our employees once every year. For years, there have been employees who merited raises but didn't get them. And this year, if you merit a raise based on your performance evaluation, you can get one.
Okay. And there's no cost of living increases, and there's no, like in the K-12 system, there's no step increases. There's none of that.
The language in the Appropriations Act does not provide.
Okay. The only other question I had was on 4.6. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, one more. 4.6.4.5, which is the increased funds for formula growth based upon a 1.7 increase in square footage. I assume that this goes back to the old formula based upon how much square footage you have, and then the fitting out of that in terms of, I don't know what's in that to get to that $900,000 number in terms of the increase in that.
Yes, so that is correct. As much as we appreciate the service of those who worked on the Performance Funding Commission, that has not been implemented, and we're still on the enrollment.
On the old enrollment base?
Enrollment and square footage, state on square footage.
Okay. So what would this go for? What would you spend it on? Painting? Fix up?
No, this is new construction.
New construction?
This is general obligation bonds that have been used for construction that is scheduled to be completed in FY17. And that square footage is, the formula rate for the square footage is $4.11 square foot, and you multiply the additional square footage prorated by the number of months that it's completed during fiscal year 17 times $4.11. And that's what leads to the formula.
Thank you.
Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, to follow up on Chairman Rice's previous question and that exchange there on the merit pay, Departmental Administration, I believe your staff member said that was 70 employees,
Yes, sir.
give or take, at $219,000. What was the number for adult education employees that would be participating? Did I hear a number that had a 5 in front of it? Was it 5,000?
55,000, he said.
That's technical education. That's 5,000.
5,000.
Okay, I guess I was just trying to reconcile if 70 employees are looking at a pool of 219,000 and over 5,000 employees are looking at a pool of 367,000, just trying to reconcile the potential opportunity there on a per employee basis.
The difference is that many of the technical education employees, those instructors, are not paid from state funds. They're paid from local funds, include mostly tuition and fees paid by students. And so that ratio is not going to work because of the large number of employees. And so this also means that we'll have a large number of employees in tech ed who won't, where the funding for a merit raise is uncertain because it's not funded with state funds. And that those funds will have to come from someplace else.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Thank you.
Chairman Chokus. Is that you? We got a 23. I'm sorry, Chairman Dix.
No problem. Thank you. As you went through your capital projects that you were mentioning, I know West Georgia Technical College had a request for the industrial maintenance lab. I know Kia has been very engaged in that. Is that part of the request anywhere?
No, sir. We have small capital projects for all colleges that are submitted, but that is not in the recommended budget that we bring to you.
Wasn't in the governor's recommendation either.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, so
We'll continue to talk. You and I need to talk about that with Chairman England.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? I don't see any. Thank you, Commissioner Corbin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, member of the committees.
Okay. Next up is General Caldwell, Georgia Military College. You will let us know who sang second this year for the 14th time in a row?
I think this was the last time, though, Mr. Chairman. We're far more optimistic. We sent a couple of football players up there this year, so hopefully that will change the dynamics.
Sorry about that, General. Couldn't resist.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to come here. If I could first of all, today, as you know, is Georgia Proclamation Day, and at 12:30 today in the Rotunda area, Georgia Military College for the last 30 years has come up and participated in that event. You're all invited out there. We'll have our junior college cadets, high school cadets, band, and our middle school cadets, also the 8th graders there, if you want to come out and see that at 12:30 today. And I'll be out there obviously participating with them. Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'll walk you through. As you know, I'll start with our ROTC department. We are 2-year commissioning source in ROTC. We do not replicate what University of North Georgia does. And in our 2-year program, there is line 44.2 for state service scholarships. We did not request an increase in funding there. That has been sufficient and it has worked well for the mission that we have and what we're trying to achieve. And so there's no change there on that line. Our only capital project we have is associated with that ROTC program. That's a $1.3 million request to complement the other $1.3 million we received last year, which will house the federal employees that are on our campus that run the ROTC program. We have made a request for an additional $500,000 now that the design work has been complete. That would complete that out, which make it about a $3.1 million project. We don't have a lot of capital projects as we only have one campus that is state-owned. All our other campuses are leased property. Then if I could take you to line 41.21, there is no increase. We did have a request for an increase. The net result, as you can see there, if you look down at 41.21.4, That was a one-time ad that we had last year, so that's not back in this year. It was just a design phase that we were using that funding for. Our net overall, if you take that out, is only about $100,000. We have experienced over last year, we have about a 12,500 student enrollment during the year. Our FTE this past year grew by about 11% in student numbers. We are continuing to see about a 1% to 2% growth at all our campuses. Overall across the institution, because we did open up 2 new campuses, it's about 11% growth for the college. And yet our funding has remained pretty much stable again through this next year. Our request is in, we have 3 areas we would like assistance on. Our ROTC department, which has only about 1% of the college. The other 98% is regular college, junior college students. We're predominantly a minority school. 57% of our students are minority. Our largest ethnic group is African American. We have a good track record. We exceed the national averages for 2-year colleges on graduation rates, but we can do better. We can do a lot better for them. And our request that we've put in is going to give us some additional tutoring support that we can provide to those men and women and non-traditional students that come into the college that are seeking to get a 2-year degree and move on to a 4-year degree. We're a transfer school. Our mission is to prepare them and get them ready to move on to a 4-year college. We do know of our students that do move on to a 4-year college, 75% will go into the USG system as we continue tracking them through the system. So our request this year is some additional funding that would help us with tutoring of these men and women that have come into the college. Yes, sir, that is our first priority of the 7 that we had listed. Our second priority is some automation support that would enable us to better track them. We work on a 9-week quarter system. If we don't pick them up in the first 2 to 3 weeks that they're not really tracking well, it's difficult when you don't have a full semester to work with them. So that early alert is really critical, and there's an automated system that we'd like to bring online to assist it. And then at each campus, we'd like to put a success coach. Their job would be to help monitor and work with these men and women that have made that decision to come back to school. As you know, about 61% of our students are Pell Grant students. Average Pell Grant for them is about $4,400 per student that we have in the college. And so we really do cater in that 99% of our student population to predominantly lower income disadvantaged men and women that are looking for the opportunity to change their situation in life and move on to a 4-year institution. And we really believe in that mission of preparing them and making them able to do that. The open admissions is a big help to that. Again, all they have to do is show up with a GED, and we'll put them through the testing phase, and then whatever additional LSS classes they require in the 3 areas. We may do as many as 2 quarters in each of those to prepare them for college level entry type classes. But that's our request today, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, General Caldwell. Let's see, got a question, Chairman Dix.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And this is more of a comment than a question. General Caldwell and General Rawhut came by and visited with me yesterday, and I have to admit I knew very little about Georgia Military Academy until they came in. And I want to urge this committee and everyone out there to learn a little bit more about what they do. We need to support their mission. They're taking these students who have virtually no other options. As we used to say in the Air Force, they were out of airspeed and altitude all at the same time, and they're giving them an opportunity not to crash. And they seem to be very successful at what they're doing. I read some of their material last night, and I just hope that we can figure out a way to help them in more ways, because the people they're rescuing them from some situations, and instead of them becoming a burden to society, they're making them productive in society, very much like the Georgia Promise Partnership is doing for high school students. So I just want to make that comment that I hope we can find a way to help them. And everybody here, I would urge you to learn more about what this organization does, and hopefully you'll be supportive. Thank you. Just a little comment there, sir.
That's fine. Well said. If you haven't visited their campus and seen all their cohorts, from the elementary school to their very impressive high school and to your college and RTC programs, it's worth the trip to Milledgeville. One thing you might want to address, gentlemen, there has been in the past the misperception that you are not a state school. Can you quickly
Yes, Mr.
lay that
Chairman.
to rest?
Mr. Chairman, we're a public authority, as stated by Georgia state law. We are public. We receive, we're responsible to all public requirements. We do get, the AG is our legal representation. We do receive the state audits on our financials every year. All of our employees are under the TRS system. I mean, we're 100% public. We work very hard to ensure that also whatever we're teaching and doing, we have 41 articulation agreements across the state of Georgia with higher institutions so that the students that start with us can ensure their credits transfer. 32 of those institutions also have guaranteed admission. So we understand we're a feeder system into the public school system here in the state of Georgia, and that's our mission, is to prepare those young men and women to take on that mission.
Thank you, John. That was not in any way pejorative towards the private institutions, but there's been a misperception over the years that this was a private institution receiving public funding, and that's just not the facts of the matter. So I wanted to make sure that continues to persist today. So I wanted to bring it out. So yes.
And I
Sure.
understand, Mr. Chairman, because there is some confusion when you go in and you look at the reimbursement rates we get for Hope and Zell Miller of the students who are eligible to qualify that. We get it at the private tuition rate, not the public school rate. So there are some things that we will continue to work and address to bring that back in line. So it is correct.
Okay. Chairman Rice, and then then Representative Smiley. Chairman Rice.
Thank you, General. I appreciate you visiting again today. Thank you for the visit, both generals yesterday. It gave me a great chance to talk about your war versus the Revolutionary War that I fought in. I only feel like I fought in the Revolutionary War. In any event, what impressed me was your the rate at which your kids went on to a 4-year college. And I want to ask the question as to whether you track them and whether they do graduate from the 4-year program. What percentage graduate from the 4-year program?
Sir, we don't have that data, but we are working to obtain that data.
Okay.
Because you're exactly right. The outcomes-based is what it's all about. We know 6 out of 10 will graduate and or transfer out to other higher educational institutions, and now we need to know how they do from there. Okay. If you look at national statistics, they tend to do well. But we can't tell you that yet specifically from our students.
Be a good thing to have, I think.
Yes, sir.
The other thing that impressed me about our conversation yesterday were the first 2 prioritized items, which were the tutor, the online tutor, and I think that you might be worth spending a couple minutes just talking about how valuable that is, and what you expect to get from the from the tutoring coaches, basically.
Yes, sir. Most of the students that will come into us are young men and women who have not done well in the past in academics and are very concerned about even entering into that field. We do know that about 35–40% of our students are non-traditional, so they're working during the day and they're coming in and they're having to do their courses. They're either taking them online or they're working them at night after they've gotten off their regular work. We offer regular tutoring in the afternoons and early evenings where we hire out students from other 4-year institutions. If they're working their undergrad, we pay them $7.50 an hour. If they've got a graduate degree, we give them $10 to $15 an hour. But we have those regular tutors. But what we were looking for is the funding that will enable us to put them on a program that allows them to go online and work with professional tutors at 11 o'clock at night on Sunday afternoon, at 6 o'clock on Saturday, because that's when a lot of them finally have the time they can make away from their families or from their work that they have to sit down and do that studying. And we want to ensure that they have the ability to progress and to continue to do well and feel good about themselves. When in fact they get frustrated and have to wait till the next week, and then they go to work on Monday and they get overwhelmed at work, and then they try to go to class on Monday evening, and then right after class it's 9 o'clock and there's no tutor sitting there that can help them further understand it. It becomes very challenging, and we find that they are the ones that will tend to fall off over time. And so the tutor.com we just implemented about 2 years ago when I got there, and has proven incredibly successful and very much in high demand.
Can you quantify that success?
Sure. We are finding about a 10% increase already. We're tracking it We only have about 2 years of data, but we're seeing a good 10% increase in their success rate, their graduation rates of those who have gone in and utilized that resource. We think over time it may even continue to climb because we've been limited in how much we can actually provide. We do it for free. We give them that resource, and so we'll have to almost limit it how much each student can actually access just because of funding of how much that cost.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Representative Smyrie.
And I just wanted to add my editorial as well. Having visited the campus and met with the Journal on several occasions, and they have a challenging mission, but a very important one. And I just want to commend you, General, and to keep up the good work. And the committee over the years has been receptive to your comments, and I hope we can continue to work with you. You do a great job, and it's a great feeder system. You're taking some of the diamonds in the rough and making them put them on the cutting edge. So that's what opportunity is all about, giving everybody a chance to be a more productive citizen. And I just want to say that. And I've watched it over the years, and looking forward to visiting with you again, and hope we can continue to be partners in this effort of, because I think education is escalated to upward mobility. It is the key to all keys to a more productive life. So I just wanted to say that and thank the chairman and the members of this committee for being responsive over the years. And we're looking forward to continue to being a partner with you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Representative Smyrie. Chairman of the Defense and Veteran Affairs Committee, Chairman Yates.
Yes, I just want to say that as chairman of the Defense and Veterans Affairs Committee, I get invited to go down each year on graduation day, and if you want to really see a thrill, is see these, I guess, from grammar school all the way up through college, all dressed out in the military uniforms, and they make a real impression. It's I always look forward to going down each year, and I thank the general for all the courtesies he gives, and for the great program he has there. Thank you.
It's worth it just to see 200 middle schoolers quiet and at attention for a length of time. And it's an amazing concept. Any others? General, thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Members Committee, the next on our agenda is Commissioner Terry Ryan, Georgia Public Broadcasting. Welcome.
I personally like the idea of a success coach. Can I have one of those?
Yes, I like that too.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the committee. We are back again this year. We are relatively simple. There are no changes that we're requesting to the governor's budget. The only changes in the governor's budget were to accommodate the 3% raise, as well as some other changes to the base for, again, employee recruitment retention, the merit system, and then the Department of Services, self-insurance, and teamwork billings. There are no other adjustments. We're not requesting of this committee any other adjustments. And that is in part reflective of the past support we've received from the governor, as well as from this committee. And we have a healthy Georgia Public Broadcasting. I believe that's to the benefit of the state. The good news is this year we started a public-private partnership, which was a mix of Race to the Top money, as well as a matching grant from Georgia Power, where we are creating a entirely new chemistry video series and a physics video series. They're massive projects. They're 50 parts each, all up to the Georgia standards, which is why I know there were 4 elements added to the table, because we're so up to date. We know just about everything that's happening in the chemistry and physics worlds. These courses, along with ancillary material, will be available for free to any and all students in Georgia, as well as to all educators. And essentially that means that there are many places in Georgia where we cannot afford chemistry or physics teachers specifically, and these courses will make it possible for students that do want to take those courses to take them. This is just one more effort in our ongoing projects to help Georgia with digital education. As you recall, a couple of years ago we embarked on a Georgia 8th grade history digital textbook. That's been completed. It's being used in the schools now. So we have moved on to what we saw as the most immediate need. We do have a small request for bond money. The governor, the request was 1.4. The governor awarded us 500 of that 1.4, and we're requesting the remainder in bond money. But other than that, I'm very proud of what we're doing at Georgia Public Broadcasting. I know a number of you have come to visit us. Those that have not, please do. Recall that we cover 98% of the state. We speak to more Georgians every day than any other media outlet that's local. So I appreciate your past support.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. Any questions, members of the committee? Those of you who haven't seen some of the work on, especially the Friday night football, which is amazing what they've been able to do with that. For so many of our high schools have been given the opportunity to be seen all over the state.
Again, because of the graciousness of the appropriations committees last year, it was our first year that we could afford to go to South Georgia, and we did so. We were in Moultrie, and I can tell you that Friday night football, we were welcomed there with open arms, and it was quite eye-opening to all of us. So we'll be returning again this year and doing more.
Chairman Rice?
Yeah, I assume this is under 4122, right? Is that the payments
yes,
to Georgia Public
4122.
Telecommunications
Yes, sir.
Commission? And so it's only about a $50,000 increase, it looks like, over year in terms of the governor's recommendation and what the House has offered. I just wondered how many employees you had.
We have about 140.
Okay.
That fluctuates, sir, with, we do a lot of work that's piecework, and so we bring people in. But base, again, it fluctuates depending, because we're very different from, we're more of a media company than an agency, and we have to fluctuate with the projects we're given. So right around there. We also have Bureau in Savannah. We have employees in Savannah and Macon and Augusta.
That's in the 140?
And Athens. Mm-hmm.
That's in the 140?
Yes.
And so the merit pay base increase is $177,000
yes.
for this year?
Yes.
So that's I mean, if you did it kind of equally, it's $1,000
well,
a
yes,
piece.
but not all of our employees are are covered by the state contract here. We have many, in some ways it's an unfunded mandate. The state only covers so many employees, and then has been the tradition at GPB from the very beginning, there are certain employees that are not covered, and we match whatever the state has done. So that comes out of funds that we raise. This does not cover all of our employees.
Okay.
Chairman Battles. Oh, yeah.
Sir, you only have about 3 more weeks. I'm so sorry. Enjoy it while you've got it. But I would recommend to you a new series called Mercy Street, which we're pulling.
Mm-hmm. And recommend 88.5 rather than 90.1.
Yeah. 88.5 in Atlanta is our new radio station. We encourage you to listen to it.
Not after the students get it back on
7 o'clock.
So, yeah, 7 o'clock.
But you'll hear a lot of politics on that station, yeah.
Both sides. It's interesting. Chairman Battles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to commend you in your work with the Georgia Technical Colleges. I think that's a great marriage between the two, gives them the opportunity to hone up on their skills, and I think that's just a big, huge plus as we look to the movie industry. It's just a phenomenal thing that we have with this partnership between Georgia Public and the technical colleges of Georgia, and I thank you for that.
You're welcome. I think Gretchen knows well that I support 100% what they're doing, and the more productions we can create, the more students that we can put to work. And we have loved working in our studios with the students from Chattahoochee Tech. They're wonderful. May I also remind you that some of these students are also doing football scores every Friday night for us. So they're learning how to do statistics also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Ryan.
Thank you.
Members of the committee, that concludes our testimony. Any questions from the members of the committee? If you have any request specific to anything we've heard from as you know, the chairman takes an interest in the B budget with respect to the extension programs and that kind of thing. Please get them to the chairman and myself before next Tuesday, and we can try to incorporate that. I think I've heard from a lot of you with the different programs we heard about today too. So I've got all those notes in a file. So please don't be shy about bringing those to me. Chairman Rogers, you had your light on.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing we didn't really talk about was tuition equalization grants. Any plans to increase that in any form or fashion, Mr. Chairman?
There was no recommendation from the governor's office, and I haven't actually heard from the organization asking for an increase, so I was going to leave that where it was.
Okay. So you're saying it's too late to ask for an increase?
No, sir, it's not too late at all. It's we've got till Tuesday next week.
Okay.
So I'm just saying that I haven't gotten a request to this point for that. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Chairman Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Same issue. I'm just looking at the agency request, which is $22,762,000, as opposed to the governor's recommendation, which is at the base amount. So it's about $1 million difference, and
maybe I missed that.
That's in HB 751, and I'm just trying to figure out what the difference is, why the agency's request is $1 million different than the governor's request.
Maybe I have I've got TEG 4415, agency request 21,224.
Yeah.
Governor's recommendation 21,224.
I'm looking at the agency request column.
Yeah.
HB 751. Is that right? Am I at the right place?
22,762. Okay. No, mine was covered up. All right. Yeah, there is a differential. That's the first that it's been brought to my attention, so we can have that conversation between now and Tuesday.
Okay.
I don't have a opinion one way or the other right this moment. I do want to encourage the private universities to also take into account the due process requests that we're making of the public universities, and to keep that in mind if you have any requests. All right. Any further business before the committee? Well, no further business. We'll stand adjourned. Thank you very much.